Everyone, I'm making a video to anyone who's over 18 that has had toxic parents or a toxic mother. And by toxic, what I mean is that you didn't get that nurturing, loving mother that held you and nurtured you and led you and guided you and created you into a healthy adult. And while there's a percent of mothers that are absolutely beautiful and nurturing and healthy themselves, they put their child first, they take care of their child's needs, they're the most awesome mothers on the world. There's a group of mothers that are not fit to be mothers and they have children. Now, my view of a title of a mother is the hallmark image of a wonderful, loving, caring mother that you can always go to no matter how broken you are, no matter what age you are. You can call her in the middle of the night. If you weren't lucky enough to have that kind of a mother, I don't care what the birth process was. If someone put you on this earth and did not do the things to you that a normal, loving mother should, you have a toxic mother. My view of that is really it's strong. After 18, you need to go shake it off, go on your own, and start looking for not a birth family, but a family that you create that's healthy and loving and values you as you. Because my view is that if she didn't value you and love you and honor you until you were 18, it's not going to happen later either, unless she has an epiphany. And if she does, and that happens, great. But in the majority of times, when you have a selfish, selfless mother that thinks of nothing but herself, she's not going to change, and she's not going to put you first. Now, again, this is the minority, but I'm trying to heal the victims that came into this world and were put here by that type of environment. Parents use their children. I was in the mall when I had my business. I used to see parents put things in their babies' carts and let the baby steal so that they didn't have to pay for stuff. And I'd be like, are you kidding me? And there's parents that have their kids to stay on welfare and to stay on the system and to not have to work and to trick a guy and to trap a guy and to, you know, just be getting attention because they're pregnant. But the point of view wasn't their love to be a mother. It was all backwards. And if that's true, you come out damaged. But your journey is to then shake that off of you, to give yourself the best of the rest of the world for the rest of your life. And you can't do that if you stay broken and stay letting that entry rule you. There's a way to turn down that switch and say, I didn't get what I deserved. I didn't get what I'm supposed to have, but damn it, I'm giving it to myself now. I will give myself everything that I didn't have. You learn to treat yourself better, to be with other people that treat you better, and you do have to break away from the toxic environment of someone who keeps calling you back for their needs, not to let you live your life. When you put a child on this earth, you are supposed to take that child, love it and nurture it, give it education, manners, teach it right from wrong, save it, protect it, let it grow into whatever boy or girl or adult it's supposed to be, and you guide it to its success. But when you're so toxic and you have a child for a purpose, and you try and tell that child, you're going to do this, you're going to inherit my business, you're going to become what I wasn't, you're going to do this. You're giving this child this list of chores and jobs that are all still an extension of you. They're not about letting that person become what they're supposed to be. That is toxic. When that happens, an adult at 18, as broken as you feel and as defective as you feel, you need to break away from that and go find yourself and go give yourself everything that you did not get and everything that you were missing. And there's only one way to do that. You have to cry. You have to go through the pain, the hurt, the loss, the agony, and the decision to cut that out of your life. There are people all over this world, even at 18 and 20, that will surrogate an adult child, and they're just wonderful people that want to go around and help people that maybe they didn't have kids, or their kids are grown or whatever, but there's people that will guide, help, and love you all along the way. And if you had a toxic father, the rules are absolutely the same. You have to break away and break the addiction between that bad chemistry of them being able to control you and you going back for more and more and more, because you're never going to give yourself a journey on this earth that lets you use your gifts and become who you're supposed to be. When you're broken, you travel broken. You go from A to B to C to D, and you drag it all with you, and you drag it into your relationships, your jobs, any of your friendships, any roommates, anything, anywhere you go, you're dragging all the brokenness. So you have to go heal yourself, and it's not easy, and it's not an overnight quick thing. But you have to give yourself permission as an adult to break away from a toxic parent. Do you get to cry about it? Absolutely. Do you get to mourn? Absolutely. Should it be that way? No. Do they get to be forgiven? Eventually. Because if you hold on to the anger, that holds you on to the pain, and that holds you on to them. And a parent that's broken should not have had a child. It's a given. But the problem is they were defective and missing something when they had you, and their life was defective. And you know, again, if you stay stuck on the angry point and stuck on what you're missing instead of what you can have, what you can gain, what you can become, the only loser of that is you, your present, and your future. You already had a past that wasn't acceptable. There's no reason to double that and triple that and quadruple that until you die. If your first 20 years was as rocky as most people's that I know, you need to go make the rest of the journey be smoother. And in order to do that, it's all about healing. It's all about changing the stories. Stop listening to the teachings of the toxic parent, and whatever they did that was wrong, there's messages and help and all things all over the place to tell you you don't have to listen to that. The biggest message about a toxic parent is your mother or your father is not the measuring stick of you. They aren't even close. If they're defective, they're not the measuring stick of anything, including their own life. But they're certainly not the measuring stick of you. And what happens is, when parents are toxic and they're never happy, they keep putting you down and trying to make you feel like you have to live in order to make yourself worthy to them. And guess what that secret is? They're never going to let you know you're worthy because they're so broken, they don't have that to give to you. Where a stranger might say, oh my God, I wish you were my son. I wish you were my daughter. You're so beautiful. You're so wonderful. That toxic parent will never say that because they're so broken. They are afraid to have you be successful because it makes them jealous, it makes them insecure, and it makes them feel like failures of their own life, so they can't give it to you because they don't have it for themselves. So, you know, you can decide how many awful years you want to have. The law says 18. I wouldn't have 18 in one day. I would be out the door with my suitcase like Mary Poppins. Even if I only had one change of clothes and a pair of socks, I'd be out the door and figure out what to do. I would not let anybody break me for another moment. But kids that are injured and hurt and wounded and insecure, this has been played on you for 18 years. And so you do have to walk out broken. But you need to change who you are and internally stop listening to those messages and start saying, not everybody's like this. Let me open my eyes to what else is healthy and what else is around, and what can I give myself immediately to make myself feel better and more whole and to change it. And the longer you put this off, the harder it gets to give to yourself. You know, if you wait 10 more years until you're 30 to try it, it's even harder. It's much easier to do when you're younger, when you're just creating yourself, and you get to go out and make all your mistakes. And you're not going to have a perfect life. You get to make mistakes, but nobody holds them over your head. We all get them. We didn't come with an instruction book. We didn't come with a rule book of what to do and what situations come up. And are you going to fall? Absolutely. But you fall and then you rise, and you rise without someone criticizing you and making you feel awful. You end up with a support team that says, well, that thing didn't work out. Let's try this and let's try this. Adult life is very hard, but nothing is harder than being undervalued, undermined, and made to feel defective. And so my advice is that if your parents are toxic, and they will not let you become who you're supposed to be, and they're trying to crush your spirit and your insides and your outsides, it's that you need to create yourself into your adult self, and go figure out who that is. And there's people you can stay with, there's strangers, there's relatives, there's shelters, there's anything better than where you are, being invisible, being unloved, being unappreciated, and being trained that you can't trust people and that everybody that's supposed to love you the most hurts you the most. Because if you take that with you, you are going to have one broken relationship after the other. The only way to give yourself a chance is to fix your broken self, make yourself whole, and it is definitely a process. It's not going to be like that. You have to change all those bad messages and bad things that happen and put them into a positive way and start putting positive messages in your head and replacing what you were taught. And it's very hard to do, but it can be done, and it's the only thing that will give you a reward and give you a life that you deserve. And every boy or girl deserves to be loved. And the more loved every new generation is, the more we're going to heal everything. Because a loving person is going to create a loving person, is going to create a loving person. A broken person is going to have a broken person, is going to have a broken person. And the answer isn't to go get pregnant and have a baby and think you can do better than they do. It's to heal yourself, become something, and then create a life when you're whole and you can give it back to a child who's whole, and together you two can have a relationship that wasn't available over there. And it's a journey. It's a long journey, but it's so much better than being with a toxic parent and putting up with it. And there's so many ways to heal. There's books out there, there's seminars, there's chapters, there's channels, there's Facebook, there's pages. All this stuff wasn't available during our generations. I mean, you know, when I turned 18, it was 30 years ago. So 3 decades ago, we didn't have all this knowledge and power. The kids today have so much power to become something better than what they were raised to be. And if you had a loving family and you had beautiful parents, you are a blessed human being, and that you can pass on to the kids that are broken. But if you came from a broken family, until you realize and accept that it wasn't your fault and it wasn't anything to do with you, it was parents that did this and they were broken to have you, but they never fixed themselves during 18 entire years, and now it's your turn to say, enough of that, I'm going to go do something else, and I'm going to become a better, happier adult, and I'm not going to take this with me, and I'm not going to ruin the rest of my journey and force 40 or 50 more years because I refuse to face that my parents weren't perfect and that they weren't healthy when they had me. It just happens, and it happens a lot. And therefore, you have to not take the blame, you don't get to wear the shame, but you do get to create a whole self. If you choose to stay broken and you choose to stay in touch, your entire life is toxic, and you're toxic to everybody around you. That's just how the sad reality is. I am so strong. I would never be like that for one day, and I've watched it all over the place. I've seen it in rich homes, poor homes, whatever. It's not even an issue of finances or anything like that. It's mentally how people were when they had you and how their whole being was. Because if they weren't equipped to be parents, or they were too busy working and their careers mattered more than you, you're still going to end up being a wounded child that didn't get enough from your childhood and their love and their attention on you. And they didn't create you into someone who knew where the boundary was and the foundation, and that you couldn't always go to them because they were putting something else first. That makes you a broken adult child also. So, you know, one of these generations, we have to get it right. I'm putting it out there so that everybody that wants to benefit can hear it, start telling themselves different stories, make their journey their own, and eliminate another year of being in a toxic situation. And it's hard. You kids have higher rent, higher insurance, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. I'd sleep in a beanbag chair on a floor before I would have someone abuse me after I turned 18. Thank you.